Good afternoon and welcome to Ero Pc2, where we are in the Ardennes forest in Belgium at the magnificent Spa-Francorchamps. 9 left-handed corners and 10 right-handers make up this iconic circuit that has been on the calendar every year since 1950. The longest track on Formula 1, with the highest elevation of more than 100 metres from the lowest point to the highest at the end of the Kemmel Straight, and the long DRS zone, where we could see some big moves. If everyone survives turn 1 at La Source, a heavy braking zone on the first lap, drivers will need to be careful to avoid the cars around them. If they succeed, then they get to tackle the mighty Eau Rouge, where only the bravest drivers go side by side. And then, down the Kemmel Straight we might get iconic moments, like all the way back in 2000, with Schumacher and Hakkinen going either side of a back marker on the way into Les Combes. The tyres are in the middle of the Pirelli range again, and there's about a 0.9 second delta at race trim between the softs and the mediums at this easy one-stop race. Sponsored by Race Insight, Bolodomania and Gridfinder, it's Ero Season 6.
Hello everybody, how are you doing? A long time no see. My name is Kirklin, or you may know me as Dino Puskadija from PC1, and welcome to PC2. Today racing at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, one of the longest tracks on the year's calendar. It is a highly dangerous circuit with 20 corners, a lot of elevation changes, and the famous Eau Rouge and Red Line corners, where our drivers will need to be careful to not crash when they try to go side by side into that part of the track. It is also famous by hosting many other events like 24 Hours of Spa, TCR Spa 500, and Uniroyal Fun Cup 25 Hours of Spa, which is actually one of the longest motor races in the world. Today commentating with me is Adam Lapidge. How are you doing today, and are you excited about today's race, knowing the very rich history of this track?
Pretty good, better than Dragos anyway. He's managed to bin it on his outlap, like fully bin it on the entrance into Fagnes, and he's actually totaled the car.
Oh, that's not nice.
Yeah, so that's him out of qualifying. So Georgios is starting his laps. He was the first guy out on track. He's just come through La Source. He's on his way up Eau Rouge and across the top of Radion now, which in qualifying, especially in low fuel, brand new tyres, is just... It's a magnificent corner. I'm glad they've widened the sort of runoff for next year, but it's an incredible corner.
Of course.
Runs all the way down the Kemmel Straight and into this triple chicane here at Les Combes. And then the corner that changes its name seemingly every 2 or 3 years, currently called Rivage. You may know it as Roussel, as it was before. Then No Name, which now has a name, which is Malmedy. Make sure you run it as wide as you can on the curbs there. And on the run down here into Pouhon, shift down a gear, throw it around this double apex left-hander, one of the most magnificent corners on the calendar. And then we are into the chicane of Fagnes, which is where Dragos pinned it. You can hit that inside curb, but be careful not to hit it too much or it will unsettle the car and spew into a barrier. And then we come around this last double right-hander here, which is Stavolo, although that's changed its name as well to Curve Paul Frere. And we're all the way down the back straight. And then you reach the flat-out left here of Blanchimont, where you are pushing 200 miles an hour. The car easily goes around it. You're just careful not to scrub off too much speed. Heavy on the brakes into the bus stop chicane. Try not to get too elevated on these curves, they're quite high. And get the power down for the short run to the line through the second DRS zone. And that's a 44.0 from Georgios as our first flying lap.
But George Norton beat that by 3 tenths, going P1, 143.783, which is a pretty good lap.
33.7, like, that's a rocket.
Well, I haven't done this in a while, so I have to get myself preparated.
You won't beat off! Ooh, George gets squirrely on his in-lap up Eau Rouge. Nearly lost the car through Radion. We've seen people lose the car there before. The PlayStation debut race actually had 4 cars out on lap 1 up Eau Rouge. If you try and go side by side there, it's easy to really ruin your race. And Elliot's actually had a moment, I think, or he was getting out of the way of someone on the fast lap, I'm not sure. Down the back straight on the run down into Blanchemont. So it's a really long lap here. Like, I think that's the thing that people are sort of realizing straight away when they see the times, as Ryan puts it, P2 with a 43.8. So you're talking 100 seconds for a lap, which is 300 seconds, even if you're flat out.
And that is why
you're out lap and you're in lap.
That is why we only have 22 laps.
3 runs, probably, which is why I'm a bit surprised at the likes of Cody going out on the mediums. Unless he really, really wants that set of brand new softs for the race. Which you do not have time to get 4 runs in. It's a bit of a push to get 3. Unless he disconnects, fortunately.
Duca is actually struggling, just as 2 weeks ago, going P7 with a 145.8. Maybe he got blocked or something, as he is in a bit
Maybe he
of
forgot a setup again.
Maybe. We have news from Daryl, a McLaren driver, that rain is going to be in 45 minutes in the race, so that is going to be very interesting.
That could make a treacherous last 2 or 3 laps.
I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens. Rain is actually pretty common here in Spa. You may know that in real life.
Hopefully we get to lap 3.
Hopefully. Let's hope we don't have any hard impact crashes like Lando Norris had in this year's race, or qualifying actually. In Irouge, I mean Radlon, yeah. Yeah, and George got a podium, which was fantastic. But we are on board with Rob, who sets a purple sector 1, but corner cuts and invalidates that lap, which is pretty unfortunate. He probably had the pace to do that.
It's easy to go to. He may be running a lower downforce setup, which is going to give you that purple sector 1, because the majority of it is the Camel Straight. So you can get a purple sector 1 and then lose quite a lot of time in sector 2, and then make up a lot of it in sector 3. So you can take variations on setup here. Some people are going to want to run more downforce and make the car really stable and sort of bitey in sector 2. And then some people are going to run lower downforce and get good runs through Blanchemont and down the Camel Straight. So you get that sort of mix and match. But the thing is, if you've got a low downforce setup and you get in front on the way into Les Combes, the guy with a high downforce setup isn't going to be able to touch you through sector 2, because there isn't much in the way of overtaking opportunities, unless you make a serious mistake. But at the same time, you'll be faster with a high downforce setup overall, so you kind of want to run that in qualifying to get as good a grid position as possible.
But that also
so
makes...
it could be a bit of a weird one.
That actually makes the setup very important, as this track actually has a lot of straight line speed needed. So it's a question if it's better to have a high downforce setup or a low downforce setup. But Greg is running really wide in some corners on board with his lap on medium tires. He's at a purple sector 1, finishing sector 2, also purple on mediums. Let's see if he can
that might be a game bug, because he hasn't set a lap yet. It does
maybe.
That. It's like, oh, you haven't set a lap yet, everything's purple.
But maybe
so
it is purple.
See it on the, I can't see it on the mediums, to be totally honest with you.
I mean, we had a similar thing with Tuka, who set the best time on mediums. And then Ryan, I think, beat him.
True. But that was Spain.
It was.
So, you know.
145.4.
Couple more letters in there.
For Greg.
Yeah, I mean, that's a decent lap. Like, the softs in race trim are a second a lap faster than the mediums. The softs in quali trim, when you're going all out, you're talking a good second and a half. So, I mean, that would be sort of a 43.9. He'd be around where Ryan and Elliot are if he was on softs and did the exact same lap. So, you know, it's a competitive time, but trying to get somewhere good on the mediums in qualifying here is very difficult. And it's an easy one-stop race with softs and mediums. But the alternate strategy, while powerful, isn't as strong as some other places, where you've really got to push your tyres to get that one stop, whereas when you start on the harder compound, they don't wear as fast when you're on heavy fuel loads, and you can make it work a lot easier. So, somewhere like Spain, for example, trying to push a one stop when you're starting on the softs is a little tricky. It's doable, it's not too bad, but it's a little tricky, but if you start on the mediums, it's easy. It's an absolute joke. Do that one stop. So as Greg actually gets out of the way of about 7 cars that are all running nose to stern. George is, I think, getting held up here by the Alpine in front of him on his lap, which I think is which is Pavel. So
But-
Pavel's also on a flying lap, but he's on mediums, so he's holding George up here.
Oh, and they crash into each
Oh.
other. Ooh, that is.
It's qualifying,
not
guys.
good.
Come on. Yeah, George should have left himself more space to start that lap, I think. I've put that down to a lack of racecraft more than anything else. You can't blame Pavel for sticking to his lap when he's on the medium tyres, but obviously George is going to be faster. I just don't think he's left a big enough gap to start his lap. And we've had one of the Davids, David Hoy, has had a bit of a moment at Eau Rouge and Radion and is now going to limp the other 7 kilometers of this lap with no front wing. As Lassie goes fastest by 1,000th of a second.
That is really impressive. So we have
43.782 against George's 43.783.
we have a pretty close grid today with the top 5 only separated by 3 tenths. So this could be a pretty good battle for the win
Top 6.
or for the podium. Yeah,
Ryan's teammate Daryl goes P4 with a 43.8.
very impressive.
So we've currently got a McLaren second row.
Maybe Tuka is not trying anymore because he knows that he's winning the drivers' championship. So
He's not
so he's
outside yet,
just-
though.
I mean, he's not outside, but he has a really big lead off of Greg in P2. So maybe he's just trying to cruise all the other races, but of course we don't know.
I mean, he still needs good results. The gap's like, what, like 50 points-ish? With 4 races left? So with Tuka's finishing every race off 5th or 6th, and Greg wins them all, he can still overhaul him. It's sort of reliant on Greg winning those races, though, because obviously the points gap from 1st to 2nd is so large. Especially if Greg can grab pole, take a fastest lap, he can get 27 points in a week. And if Tuka's not getting pole, not getting fastest lap and finishing, 5th or 6th, he might only get 10. And then that gap's going to shrink very quickly.
I wouldn't know, but we are on board with Jacob, Greg's teammate, on mediums, not improving in the first sector, but having pretty good lines in the second sector.
Yeah, it gets a bit of a 4-wheel drift there through Malmedy, through No Name.
Going through
And
double gorge.
runs it wide through Puon, but gets just enough out of the power that he manages to keep the lap. So that won't be invalidated. Stays pretty much off the curbs completely in Fanyas, which is the safer option, but it's also the slower option. And now in through the flat-out turn of Stavlo, he's 3 tenths up on his time, which is going to put him ahead of his teammate. Ferrari really going for this medium strategy here. See what he can do through the final sector, through the flat-out left of Blanchimont, down into the bus stop chicane. Hard on the brakes about the 100-meter board. Just get that nose in. He's done pretty well, but you've got to be patient on the power on the way out, and he wasn't quite patient enough and managed to kick the back end out. And it's a 45 dead, which puts him P10, so he's split the Alfa Romeos. It's not a terrible position to put it in, it's not a bad time at all. That would probably have been the fastest lap had he been on softs.
Probably.
So he's going to be wanting to get back, get some new boots on and get out again, but he's going to have to be quick. The in-lap and the out-lap are so long here. He really doesn't have a huge amount of time.
I just
You need to
found
turn
out
your
that
ERS back on, Jacob. Make sure you get round.
I just found out that Puan actually has 2 different names. You can call Puan the double gauge as well.
Oh.
I'm
No one
seeing
calls
that.
Puon anything other than Puon.
Yeah, but
Probably
that's pretty
because it's got
interesting.
poo in it. It's like, oh, having that thing.
Okay.
I'm sure it means something in French or Belgian or whatever. I
don't
barely
know.
speak English, so I wouldn't know.
I think George is on a flying lap and is getting held up by a McLaren in front of him, Ryan Chapman.
He's not having a good day, really, in quali, is he?
Yeah,
It's Ryan on an outlap, so that Ryan's been a bit naughty there.
and Ryan even tried to move it right into him to
George
make a collision.
has turned his ERS off. He was 4,000ths up at the first sector split, so considering there's like one real corner in the first sector in qualifying, because you just don't brake for Eau Rouge, it was a decent first sector, and it's ruined his lap, basically, so we have to hope he's got fuel.
So
If
we
you
are
put the
gonna
minimum
see.
fuel on here, you can't do an outlap and 2 flyers. even without your in-lap. So hopefully he'll have the fuel to get around and actually get a time in here. Although he does have time to bail into the pits, put a brand new set of boots on, and go out again for a final lap, and hope he doesn't get held up on that one. Because that's now 2 of his laps that have been compromised by slower traffic. Now he's going again, so he must have the fuel to start another lap. And we'll be hoping to find a couple of tenths, maybe a bit more, and challenge right at the top. Good day for the Mercedes guy. Hopefully we have a good weekend for Mercedes all around, both here in PC1 and in real F1, please! At Aero F1, as Mercedes driver Drake Dempsey is currently leading the championship, I think. So he's doing a damn sight better than the PC boys. But George has found another McLaren on the way down into Lecom.
That's
he's
so
16,000
unfortunate.
up after the first sector, so he's gone even better through La Source.
Is he going to move away?
Through Lecom.
He is. Tuka is also starting a flying lap, so let's see what he can do, but let's keep on board with Georgios.
Yeah, Daryl did well there, got the hell out of the way through Rivage. So he's not held him up. Throws it through Pouan.
Very
keeps
good
it legal,
line.
keeps it this side of the lines. So this is looking like a tidy lap from George. Whether it's fast, we'll have to see at the second sector split. As he takes a safe, but sort of a middle ground between safe and quick through Fanius. And now into
6 tenths faster,
up.
Jesus!
This could be a low 43 if he gets the bus stop right. It's flat all the way down now to the final chicane. Just hope he doesn't scrub off too much speed through Blanchemont. Keeps it at 194 miles an hour. That's fast.
Going through the bus stop chicane.
Hard on the brakes. He's just missed that first apex, but only slightly. It won't have cost him too much, maybe half a tenth. And on the power and over the line, it's a 43.4.
Faster by 3 tenths.
3 tenths.
That is very impressive from George.
But Ryan's coming over now, and he was 4 tenths up at the split. 43.1. Another 3 tenths.
Let's see what Tuka can do, our championship leader. He is only up by 2 tenths. He's really struggling on spot today.
Lassie's just started his lap. Yeah, Tuka's all the way down in 15th.
Jesus. Our championship leaders, both Tuka and Greg, are not having a good time today.
Oh, this could be interesting.
Very interesting.
Let's just start the championship rivals right at the back of the grid for a race. That'll be fun. Should we do that in Abu Dhabi?
Oh.
Should we just get Max and Lewis? Whoa, a 43.4. Okay, he's found some pace there.
I think
you found 2 seconds in the final sector.
I think
So
the times
go.
were wrong.
That shut you up.
Yeah.
Right behind Georgios. But Georgios is on 1 lap all the tyres, and 1 lap around here is a long way. And his teammate George has actually binned it up Eau Rouge.
And he's dead.
Through Radion. Oh, he's fully binned it. So that's going to be his qualifying over.
Lasse invalidates.
Currently 3rd and 5th for for Aston Martin, though.
Oh, Lasse invalidates and spins in Pouan.
Ooh. Well, Lasse's not going to improve from P4. Uast is 2 tenths up after Sector 2, though, just coming through Blanchemont and down into the bus stop now. And he was only 100th behind Lasse and George. This could put the Alpine should put the Alpine at least on the front 2 rows. We'll have to see if he can challenge Tuka's time. And it's a 43.4. He beats Tuka.
Nice.
12 thousandths. Nice. Second McLaren now of Daryl as he invalidated his lap, unfortunately.
On board with David
George
Hoy.
has run out of fuel, so he won't be improving.
David Hoy, purple sector 2, so that is pretty impressive. That could put him in the top 3.
Up.
This is gonna be interesting.
If he doesn't gain in the 3rd sector, he's in the 43s, so he's going to be challenging near the front to see if he lost any time at the bus stop before. There's a good line through the first part. Managed to get the nose into the second part.
And very good exit.
Gets on the power nice and early.
P2!
43.3!
That is very impressive.
He's still on a lap. We've got a Red Bull sideways through Stabilo.
He DNF'd.
So he's, yeah. I don't think he ruined the car, but he was sideways on the track.
I think that's everyone. No one is on a flying lap, everyone's just going into the pit lane, so...
Paolo was, but he's backed it right off.
This was a very interesting qualifying session.
All ended a bit crazy.
the top 10 only separated by 1 second, so anyone can be a winner. And George really did a good job putting that Mercedes in the top 3, so he's gonna have a pretty good line into turn 1.
Yeah, but the championship fight here might be basically over. Tuka P5, Greg P15.
Greg
Greg's
didn't
gonna
even
have
go
to-
for another lap. He only stayed in the pits.
Did he stay in, or did
Yeah.
he invalidate a lap? Maybe
He stayed
maybe he
in.
really wants that medium strategy, but he's gonna have to find some places and quickly.
And he's
Sitting
gonna get held
behind
up a lot.
cars isn't gonna close you the gap that you'll need to jump the soft runners when they pit. Or maybe he's relying on a safety car somewhere.
Maybe. Which could be possible, or maybe he's trying to start on hards, go until the rain period, and put inters.
That's risky.
It is risky, but possible. But I guess we'll have to see. So, as things stand, qualifying is over. Ryan Chapman sits in pole position, 143.1. We have 3 AI somehow. Anyways,
Yeah.
David Hoy follows him in the front row, 143.3, very impressive from him, as well as Georgios, 143.4. That rounds out the top 3 for today's qualifying. Next we have Powell, Tuka, Lasse, George, Daryl, Elliot, and Paolo rounds out the top 10. Below, starting on any tires, will be Rob, 144.5, 4/10 off of Paolo, so definitely a lot of time to improve, maybe in the race. Cody in the Alpine, David Power in the Alfa Romeo, which was probably not a good qualifying session, seeing that his teammate is in P2. Both Ferraris in P14 and 15 respectively on medium tires. Uriel DNFs, 147.0, almost 4 seconds off of Georgios. That's not a really good lap time. And Dragos is going to start last in today's Grand Prix, who didn't even set a lap time. So that is quite unfortunate.
You know, you binned it on his outlap on the first, right at the start. Yeah, so there's obviously slightly bugged. Essentially, it does this anytime people disconnect during qualifying. It can bug the timer, so they may still have time on their thing. So I've just said to anybody that's disconnected, if they can drive out, just drive out and redo your lap, essentially. I think people are leaving, we might be re-lobbying, actually. So
Yeah,
grab
probably.
a picture of the standings. Our host with the most.
We are very sorry for these technical difficulties. We shall...
Well, welcome to F1 2021.
and
Unfortunate.
and there are even more bugs. I don't know if any viewers have that problem, but the G923 True Force doesn't have any force feedback, and I have that wheel, so that's not good.
Pad life, pad life.
So you're
My
not
pad still
gonna
vibrates.
see me tomorrow. So see you next time.
Oh, you're not racing? Unless they fix it overnight.
I'm just spinning everywhere in Spa. It's awful.
Good.
No, not good.
Alpine have too many points in PC1. Good.
But I still have a chance to get
hopefully,
P2 in the standings, so maybe I can do
it's
that.
last season's bugged.
Oh, lassies, but...
Yeah, hopefully Mateus has the same issue. Because he has too many points as well.
I can still get P2 in the standings. I'm like separated by 20 or 30 points, I think. If I can
That's
just
about
keep
as
it.
many as I've got all season.
I mean, that's not that bad. I think in season 7 in PC2 we will have a better chance. Maybe.
Well, yeah. You're staying in PC1. You're too fast for PC2.
I use assists, so I cannot go to
don't
PC1.
care. I'm gonna dig my heels in and tell Watch to fuck off.
Well,
We don't have enough drivers to do assist-based leagues. We just don't. It's just gonna make it so you're gonna get some guys that are like bottom half of PC2 that are like, I use no assists, going against like top guys of PC1, and they're gonna be like 4 seconds off the pace. And then you're gonna have like really good guys in PC1, like you, going against people that are like bottom half of PC2 because they use assists, and then they're going to be like 4 seconds off the pace. It's just going to be daft. It should be the fastest 20, the next 20. Done.
Practice. Well, I don't know what to say.
If we're doing assist-based leagues, I'm appealing for a pad league.
If we are doing assist
Fuck wheels.
leagues, oh, we are what? Okay. If we are doing assist leagues, we shouldn't do assist leagues.
We don't have enough drivers. It works if you've got
mean,
like 12, 15 tiers or something, but when you've got like 2 or 3, it just doesn't work.
I need to quit my game.
Yeah, it's not like I don't even have a continue button
Yeah, same
to
here.
quit. I'm stuck at Spa. It's gonna start raining. I'm just gonna be like the Dutch guy in the crowd that was just eating cheesy chips in the pouring rain. They must have been soaked. Imagine soggy chips.
No. No. I was actually thinking of getting some for Spa.
Just
today.
get cheesy chips. Cheesy chips and a cagoule.
Maybe.
I'm just making it realistic. Oh wait, my game crashed.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh well, we were re-lobbying anyway. Oh, that's one way to get out of the lobby, I suppose. The games just crash.
With these problems, we should probably do a tier in F1 2020. That game, at least, it is not that bad.
I mean, F1 2020 was good, but it doesn't have the cool tracks. Well, it does get Vietnam, so we get to race Vietnam, because I love Vietnam.
Same here.
Everybody
It's amazing.
hates it, and I'm like, Vietnam's awesome!
I love it. It's amazing.
It's like Baku, but twisty. It's great.
It's like Jeddah, but worse.
Jeddah's pretty good. Jeddah is pretty good.
I love it. But racing is not gonna be that good, but qualifying is going to be amazing.
Quality's gonna be crazy.
Qualifying is going to be amazing.
And I mean, and if it's not already in season 7, which it probably should be, I'm gonna yell at Watch till it is as well.
We should also have a social race.
Yes, sometime next week.
Which I hope my force feedback problems are gonna be fixed, because I absolutely want to attend that.
The thing is, like, the thing that really irritates me is I invalidated in time trial a 27-1 and can't get near it again.
Interesting. Send you the invite.
I can't even get remotely close to it. I can't even get in a 27 now. I invalidated a 27-1, it was like a perfect lap. Apart from like a tiny bit of running very, very slightly wide at one corner. Now I can't get near it. Don't know why. It's really annoying.
I wouldn't know. So yeah. That is quite unfortunate. We have some people in chat also saying that Vietnam was horrible.
No.
Jeddah is 10 times than Vietnam.
I really, really wanted the Vietnam Grand Prix to happen last year.
Same here.
Because that Sector 3 with the 2020 Mercedes, that onboard would have been incredible. Like, Lewis
even
Q3
more than incredible.
onboard, Sector 3 at Vietnam.
Even more than
died
incredible.
Right then and been happy. It would have been so good.
Jesus! But yeah, I don't know if you saw qualifying today, but I think that Verstappen's chance. Okay.
I'm watching it at 6. Shut up.
But yeah, I think no spoilers,
Well,
but I think Hamilton is going to win.
As long as, right, at qualifying, because of what happened with Brazil, as long as if anybody crashed and damaged their rear wing, and their DRS slot was then 85.1 millimeters after they'd crashed and damaged it.
Hello?
Hello?
I think it crashed.
Oh, what, the game?
You stopped talking all of a sudden.
Apologies. Oh, yeah. It's just now just said that you're playing, so it's weird.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I wonder if my internet went at me, which is entirely plausible.
Well, maybe.
Yeah, no, as long as anybody gets damage on their rear wing, their DRS slot is then 85.2 millimeters, gets disqualified, it's fine. Like, they've they've made their decisions about what it means when the part is damaged and is now no longer in code. So as long as it stays like that, it's fine. But it won't.
I guess anything can happen these last 3 races. But yeah, I think Hamilton.
You need to put spectator on if you
I am.
Oh, you are.
But yeah, I think Verstappen's chances are over.
Shut up.
No spoilers, no spoilers.
I mean, good, but shut up.
I support both Verstappen and Hamilton, but I really want Verstappen to win because I'm quite tired of seeing Hamilton winning from 2014 to
I'm not Max's
2021.
biggest fan, but
but I do want to see someone else.
I'm not Max's
winning.
biggest fan, but mostly I think he's overrated.
He is a little bit.
But at the same time, like I'm not his biggest fan. I think he's overrated, and I don't think he knows how to race, right? But as a person, he seems fine. The thing I really dislike is Horner and Marco. So I just don't want Red Bull to win anything. If Max was driving for a different team and he was going to win, I'd be like, yeah, fine, whatever. I'd rather Lewis win, but yeah, fine, whatever. Because I don't mind Max. He's okay. It's Horner. I just hate Horner. He's a prick. I would happily strangle him in his sleep.
I think we have...
We are re-lobbying again because people readied up. Because we hadn't set the grid.
Are you serious?
Because we did qualifying, so we have to set the custom grid, and people instantly ready. We just went, oh, everyone's here, let's ready up, which isn't how it works.
Well, at least we can talk for longer.
So yeah, so like I don't mind Max. He's not my favourite person. I don't mind Max, but I just can't stand the Red Bull lot. I can't stick Christian Horner.
I mean, Horner is alright, but Marco is oof.
The thing that annoys me about Horner is his double standards. And I mean, I get them to an extent. Like, you've got to sort of back up your driver, right? But it's like... So if you look at 2020 Portimao practice, Max and Lance Stroll came together at turn 1. And Max was on the outside and slightly ahead. And Stroll put it down the inside. And he goes... Oh, well, I think it's sort of 50-50. I think Max needs to be more aware of who's around him and things like that. And then you get the Silverstone incident, where Max is slightly in front and on the outside. And he was basically saying Max is completely blameless, and it's entirely on Lewis, and he should have been disqualified, and all this. And it's like, it's just double standards. It's like, it's either both fine or neither fine. You know, like, that's the thing that irritates me about Horner. And in the way that they're now kicking off and moaning about something Mercedes have apparently done with their rear wing, but they don't actually know what. It's smoke and mirrors. They're just making it up.
I mean,
if they knew, they'd have reported
it's way too big.
To the FIA.
It's way too big.
I mean, what do you mean it's way too big?
It's like
just the size of the wing, like the amount of downforce it creates.
The size when DRS is open is way too big.
It's within 85 millimeters.
But they have a device like with what they find out if it fits or if it goes through. If it goes through, it's legal, and I think it went through for Merck, so it was way too big.
Qatar or Brazil?
At Brazil. In Qatar, I haven't heard anything.
Yeah. So how it happened at Brazil? So Mercedes tested it themselves with the FIA scrutineers around. Like, they're always around. Mercedes tested it themselves before qualifying with the gauge. They've got the little metal thing. So basically, they just push it up to the wing, and the gauge is exactly 85 millimeters. So if that goes through, then your DRS is illegal. If it gets stopped by the wing, then your DRS is fine. Because it means it's less than the 85 millimeters, otherwise it'd go through the gap. And they tested their wing before qualifying, and it didn't pass through. It was fine. And then they tested it, and then the FIA tested it in Parc Ferme. And there is a sporting regulation, which is if the gauge passes through. And there is a technical regulation, which is if the gauge passes through when you apply 10 newtons of force. So they tried it with just trying to put it through, and it didn't go through. And then they put the 10 newtons of force on, and at one side it went through. But that to me is a bit like if it doesn't go through when you just sort of like put it against the wing, but it does go through when you push it. It's a bit like a dentist drilling a hole in your tooth and then going, "Oh, you've got a hole there." It's like, yeah, no shit, you drilled it. It feels a bit like that, but I get it. It's fine, right? But then they turn around and say, "But we know it's not part of the design. We know the wing was damaged, but you're still disqualified. You're not allowed to fix the damaged part." Where Red Bull have been working on their rear wing like the last 4 races in qualifying because it's quote unquote damaged. But that's fine. Like, it just doesn't make sense. It's just weird.
I don't know.
And that's not even getting into turn 4. But it's just weird that the FIA turn around and say, yes, the wing's damaged, but you can't replace it, we're just going to disqualify. It's just an odd way to interpret the rules. Because I thought you could fix damaged parts. I thought that was the whole point.
I don't know. I don't really understand the Park Ferme regulations, but yeah.
Essentially, when the car's under
references.
Park Ferme, so after qualifying, you can't touch it at all. You can't do anything with it except to change tires. So you can put, your random super warm mediums on instead of having to drive to the grid on your race tires. And then obviously, if you're not in the top 10, you can change the tires anyway. And then you can replace a damaged part that the FIA agrees damaged with an identical not damaged part. So it's like when Leclerc hit the barrier in Monaco, they could change his front wing and the barge boards and things like that as long as they were for identical components because they were obviously damaged. But then the FIA say Lewis's wing is damaged in Brazil, but he can't replace it.
They
It's
can
just
only repair some bits of it, maybe.
Well, you just replace the whole rear wing. You have to just replace the whole rear wing.
Yeah, but okay, yeah, okay. I understand
Because it's damaged.
Yeah.
Because they said it was damaged. If they said, well, it's this big, and it doesn't look damaged, then it'd be like, oh, okay, so maybe it is damaged and they can't tell or whatever, right? But if they said, oh, it's this big, but it's not damaged, then yeah, fine, disqualify them. But when they say it's definitely damaged, it just doesn't make sense to me. It just seems weird. So it's like if somebody has a moment at Jeddah where there's walls everywhere and takes like half their front wing off in qualifying, well, their front wing is now no longer in code. So do they get disqualified from qualifying, or can they put a new front wing on? Because based on what the FIA have said in Brazil, they now have to be disqualified from qualifying. So if you're in Q3 and you're on pole, and your final flying lap, you take the end of your front wing off, you're not in code anymore, that you should be disqualified. Or if you actually hit a wall and like take a wheel off, you should definitely be disqualified because you can't race on 3 wheels. It's things like that. They can't turn around then and say, yeah, this is fine, but that wasn't, because there's no sort of reasoning behind it. They just make a rod for their own back. It's like with the whole turn 4 thing. So Max ran off track, pushed Lewis wide, gained a position, and some people will go, oh, it's hard racing. Okay, if that's your opinion on it, that's fine. I personally disagree. If that's your opinion on it, that's fine. But that now means the next time somebody does the exact same thing, where they brake too late and run super deep and push somebody off the track, you can't penalise that.
Maybe
Because whichever driver you penalise will just turn around and go, well, you didn't penalise it when Max did it, so why am I getting penalised? It's the exact same thing. Because there was no contact. So if you're saying, oh well, it wasn't a penalty because there's no contact, so you are essentially saying it's fine for Max to do it because Lewis turned the wheel right on a left-hander. But then when a similar thing happened in Silverstone where Lewis, turned for the corner, understeered, and made contact with Max, that wasn't fine because Max didn't turn against the corner. It's just strange. It's like putting the onus on the guy that gets hit or doesn't get hit as to whether the guy making a move that he maybe shouldn't make or probably shouldn't make. The onus shouldn't be on the guy avoiding contact or not. The onus should be on where's his car going. Like if Lewis had just turned into that corner, like on the outside line, if he'd have run the car right on the edge of the corner as wide as possible, Max would have completely T-boned him.
What do you think about
it's just inconsistency.
This might sound crazy, but what do you think about the FIA trying to prove that they are not on Mercedes' side? Because if you know that there was some speculation in these last few years that FIA have been helping Mercedes, or they didn't really apply a lot of penalties to Mercedes to keep them winning. Almost the same thing as with Ferrari in the early 2000s,
I mean,
where FIA
so
were good. Maybe.
Yeah, I think so. They brought in the hybrid engine in 2014, and I think they didn't want to do too much to them because they were new tech, right? So they didn't want to see your engine's really good, so we're gonna fucking nail it. It's legal, but it's really good, so we're gonna nail it. I think they wanted to avoid doing that, which is why. So they hit Ferrari when they were actually cheating, but they sort of didn't hit, Mercedes or anybody else who had a powerful engine. And then in terms of the Aero, I mean, they've made a few little changes. You saw the cars change dramatically. So after 2015, I think it was, the cars got dramatically sort of lower and wider. Even though they got wider at the start of the hybrid era. You look at like a 2014 Mercedes, it looks tiny compared to the one now. And it looks a lot sort of like, it looks kind of squashed. It's kind of like two guys have run into it from either side and sort of squashed it. It's got taller and thinner when you compare it to now. So they have changed the Aero. I think part of it is Mercedes have just done really well, and then the other teams, when they have caught up, have been pinged for something. Like Ferrari caught up in 2017, 2018. The cars were very similar, very even in terms of pace over the course of the season. But then it transpired that then Mercedes got a jump on Ferrari at the start of 2019. Ferrari cheated with their engine to catch up and got pinged and dropped like a second a lap. And nobody really bridged that gap, which is why the 2020 Mercedes was so dominant, because it already had that gap, and then obviously Mercedes was still developing. But then I definitely think if you look at the regulation changes this year, they are specifically targeted to hit Mercedes. DAS got banned when the FIA were being told about the entirety of the development, and they were totally fine with it, and they just banned it. Which, I understand the cost principle of it, saying, well, you can't use it because of the cost. They could have said, right, well, DAS is banned when you've got to redesign whole new cars in 2022, but it's fine for 2020, where the cars are essentially the same. And they said that they did that because Pirelli didn't say the tyres would last. The tyres would not be sturdy enough, wouldn't be capable of handling the intense loads around high-speed corners, specifically with Mercedes, because they were so fast around high-speed corners, why they were crazy at Silverstone. Because that's exactly the kind of track that Mercedes is sort of designed for. It's not designed for twisted tight tracks like Monaco, because it's too long. But then the FIA lobbied Pirelli to make the tyres harder and make them more stable in these high-load situations. So you only needed to do one or the other, not both. And the regulations were specifically targeted at Mercedes because they hit their best part of Aero, which was the bottom corner of the rear floor, which is why the Mercedes this year has got terrible rear downforce compared to, for example, the Red Bull. And they also hit specifically low-rate cars by changing the distance of how low the diffuser has to be, of how high the diffuser has to be from the floor. So if you've got a Red Bull that's high rake, it's got maybe, say, for example, the diffuser strokes are 50 centimeters long, and you say, right, they've now got to be 20 centimeters further off the floor. Red Bull lose 40% of their downforce. But if the Mercedes strokes are 30 centimeters long, because it's a lower car, the bottom of the car is closer to the floor, they then lose 66% of their rear downforce of their diffuser, because they've got to be 20 centimeters higher off the floor as well. So they were specifically targeted regulation.
Oh.
And we've had 4 disqualifications,
Jesus.
by the way, before we get to Le Mans, which is both Ferraris, Dragos, and Ero. So, good luck with that, freezing tyres on the grid. Which isn't going to help the Mercedes with their no rear downforce. Essentially, so I don't think they've really protected Mercedes. I think they didn't want to touch the engine. I mean, they banned party mode last year. I don't think they wanted to touch the engine because it was new tech, and it was sort of like the flagship part of the regulations was the hybrid engine. But they wanted to sort of keep that. But I definitely think this year the regulations were specifically targeted to hit Mercedes, and they haven't been specifically targeted to hit a team in a long time. They've sort of said, oh, that's a bit iffy, this particular sort of aspect of your car. But there's 3 or 4 teams using it, and then they hit it. But going, right, what's your best part for your rear downforce? Oh, that bottom corner of your floor? Yeah, you can't have that anymore. We're going to change the shape of the floor. It just stinks a bit, to be totally honest with you. It's a bit like, I don't like to see one thing get hit, one team get hit, one sort of one deck get hit in card games, that kind of thing. If it's like universal across the board, where they hit everyone, that's fine. But when it's targeted, it just feels cheap.
Could be.
But it is giving us an interesting championship fight and an interesting season between Red Bull and Mercedes. But
at least
that's part of the thing that annoys me about Red Bull moaning about Mercedes' rear wing, whatever it's doing, is Red Bull have already been pinged this year for using an illegal rear wing they knew was illegal. So it's a bit like pot kettle black.
I mean, you would expect that every team would be who
Every
is
team's
fighting
doing
for
something,
the
of course they are.
That's to be
If
expected.
if you're comfortably within all the rules, you're not going to win. So every
of
team's
course,
doing something.
yeah. And it's only a matter
Apart
of
from
time
us.
until FIA. Anyways,
We're on the grid finally.
we're on
It's
the
a long
grid.
outline. We get to chat shit. It's great.
Yeah, and maybe we are going to have some safety car. But anyways, we have 5 red lights, and it's a very long hold up as always. And we are on the way for the Spa-Francorchamps Grand Prix or Belgium Grand Prix. We have a pretty good line with David Hoy, who gets P1 in today's race,
Yeah.
round the outside. And Ryan Chapman and Georgios actually touch and go really wide. Lassie Rasmussen and
Ryan
David
got out on
Hoy.
the sausage curb.
Lassie Rasmussen and
Contact
Tuka
behind
go
with
inside by
Tuka
side
and
into a
Lassie.
Rouge.
Oh,
And they touch into
don't
each
do
other,
that!
but Lassie overtakes Tuka, but they are still side by side. And Ryan is trying to get into that battle. They are going, I think, 3 wide, but I cannot see
Tuka gets
that.
a good run. They're going to be 4 wide here as Lassie's dropping back in the pack going up to Lake Hume.
And Georgios gets a pretty bad run, and he spins.
Completely off track.
And he spins, and we have a lot of people going side by side into this chicane. And George
Welcome.
gets P5.
Oh, wow.
Oh, and,
George had an awful start,
and
dropped to
Daryl-
P9. Ryan's got Tuka into Rivage as well.
And Daryl has no front wing, and we have a spin with Rob, and Daryl has no front wing.
Oh my god.
And Paulo
What is
trying to go
this?
around the inside of Puon, of Elliot, and he spins! And now Jacob has a really good run on Elliot around the outside. Maybe he will overtake him. They are going side by side. Elliot actually doesn't have a end plate at his front wing, and he overtakes him,
So-
Jagos as well, and Greg as well.
This displays just how important qualifying is at Spa-Francorchamps, because David has built a 2.5 second lead while all the carnage kicks off behind him. He's just he's having a nice Sunday drive, and everybody else is going nuts.
Lassie Rasmussen and George Norton go into the bus stop chicane. They touch a little bit.
Daryl's out. Daryl's out.
Daryl's out. George Norton. Oh,
Pavel,
yes.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Lassie gets around the outside of George through the bus stop. Yeah. So, Paolo ran wide on the exit into Paul Frere. Daryl with no front wing managed to get down the inside. Paolo then understeered through Stavolo and binned him into the house.
We have so many people in the pit lane. Jesus Christ.
Tuka's in, Cody's in, Pavel's in, and Elliot. Tuka pit though. Tuka's gone onto the mediums. You can't get those to the end. So,
there
why don't we take a look at position changes after a crazy first lap? So, David has jumped Ryan, so the front row has swapped around. George is up to 3rd from 7th.
I'm
Lassie is
I'm
up to
sorry
4th
to
from
interrupt you.
6th.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but Dragos goes around the outside of Jacob and overtakes him.
Dragos is now up to 5th from last on the grid, and he's 5th in a lap. Lewis Hamilton does drive a Haas. So
Oh, and he spins!
oh maybe
no.
not. I've just jinxed Lewis tomorrow now, haven't I?
Oh, and
he's
he
hit the wall
retires.
at Malmedy, and he's out. He's
If,
lost his front wing.
if
and
that's
his
not a
front tyre.
safety car, there we go. ABSC.
VSC, that's a VSC, but that should be a complete safety car. He's on the racing line. That should be a total safety car. But this is going to give the 4 guys at the back. Oh, actually, it's not going to catch them up because it's virtual. If it was a real safety car, that would be really good for them because they would basically get their pit stop back.
Please continue the
Jesus
the
Christ. Well, I mean, I'm sort of
positions.
ruined it now because I'm mostly looking at Dragos up like 53 million places going, holy shit. So George is 3rd up from 7th. Lassie's 4th up from 6th. The 2 Ferraris of Jacob and Greg are 5th and 6th, and they start 14th and 15th. David Power is up to 7th from 13th. George has dropped down to P8 all the way from 3rd. And his Mercedes teammate is now P9 from 16th on the grid. with Uriel. Paolo and Robbie somehow haven't changed position and are still 10th and 11th.
And the penalty for
All
Rob.
that where they started, which makes no sense. Tuka's dropped 7 spots, Cody's dropped a spot, Elliot's dropped 5, and Pavel has dropped to currently last of the running guys as Daryl and Dragos are out. From 4th on the grid is now P15. We only had 1 lap and then 1 under VSC. What the fuck
Jesus
was that?
Christ. That was the most
I love
crazy
Spa.
first lap that I have ever seen. Oh, and we have a drive-through penalty!
Drive-through.
And Uriel as well!
Oh no.
And Rob gets another 3 seconds.
That's 9. Rob's got 9 seconds of penalties. We've had a lap and a half of racing. He might get disqualified. Yeah. But yeah, we've got a drive-through for Ryan and Uriel, so they're going to be begging for a safety car.
Oh, David Power and George going side by side into the... I don't know what that corner is. Into Rivage. I have to...
Through no name, George has got the position. He's back up to P7. And he's just 3/10 behind Greg. Greg's... I don't know if Greg's going to want to fight this with Tuka down in 12. He doesn't want to compromise his own race.
George has a pretty good line of the inside. He has even softer tires than Greg, who started on hards. So
Greg
my
and
speculation.
David Power started on hard, so George is just making up places with 2 stages of softer tires.
So my speculation was actually correct that that he would start on hards. So that's interesting.
But Greg's teammate Jacob started on the softs from the back of the grid, so I think he might have been expecting a chaotic first lap.
Probably.
I mean, he's less than 10 seconds off the lead. So, like, you know, that's not bad for 5th. Ryan gets a fastest lap with a 1:49.0. But he's closing that gap up to David, but he's going to slide all the way back when he serves this drive-through, which he has to serve within the next 2 laps. Which is going to promote George up to P2 and Lassie onto the podium. And Lassie is within a second of George, so he's going to get DRS here down the Camel Straight. As long as he doesn't bottle it up Eau Rouge.
Oh, we have a
And
yellow sector 2.
Oh! I had to speak.
George Norton retires, and as well as Powell.
Pavel's out, yeah. I was like, as long as Lassie doesn't bottle it up Eau Rouge, and then George does it anyway.
Jesus.
So I mean, somebody had to. Somebody had to die up Eau Rouge.
What is happening today? We have a full safety car.
Full safety car. Full safety car. So we might see some of these soft guys going on the hard tires, trying to get to the end on them. Possible. Might have to do a bit of conservation, but it's possible. But this is actually even worse for Ryan and Uriel, because you can't serve your drive-through under safety car.
Oh yeah, that is actually really bad for them.
Hopefully they know that and don't try.
Maybe they want to switch from these softs, because I think they would be around 20% right now, so maybe go into hards until the end of the race, after serving the drive-through penalty of Paolo as well.
Paolo as well.
Speeding on their safety car.
Oh,
this is the most chaotic start of the race I have ever seen.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
So
this is bonk. I hope it's not like this tomorrow. If it's like this tomorrow, I might just cry somewhere.
if I'm gonna race, then be sure to keep watching me, because I'm gonna spin with no force feedback.
Oh my god. This is carnage. I mean, I know I say that word a lot, but this is proper carnage. David Hoy does pit. And Ryan's following him in, and so is Lassie. So yeah, these guys are getting off these soft tyres. Is Jacob going to stay out? Jacob parks it in the bus stop, and yeah, he is ping. As does George.
Maybe these guys also don't have any FFB, and that's why we already have a lot of DNFs and crashes.
Don't give them an out, don't give them an excuse. But Greg and David Power carry on. They started on the hard, so obviously that makes sense. As the guys from the front of the grid have all gone on mediums. 17 laps on mediums is a stretch. Doable, probably, but it's a stretch.
The Alfa Romeos are P2 and P3.
So do you remember we were talking about Greg had a terrible qualifying and that might be championship over?
I don't recall that.
He's up 14 positions and leads.
Crazy.
On the safety car.
Crazy.
So, like, if he can get a good safety car restart. And remember, David behind him is also on the hard tyres. So he's not going to be sort of at a disadvantage until somebody clears David.
And David also has a
based on
really
how
good
this
pace.
race has gone, might be by ploughing into the side of him in La Source. Would not surprise me.
So, Luke says, what we saying 6 people finish? I would say 5. 5.
I was gonna say, that's a bit optimistic. Finish, you get on the podium, boys!
Almost like
Oh my
Baku.
God.
Almost. Baku was
This is
carnage.
just ridiculous.
But yeah, as things stand,
See? This is what we could have had if they'd have actually raced at Spa in real life.
I think we would have had better racing than this.
Just get the R's out and just row the car. It'll be fine.
But it was raining and George was P3, so it would
P2.
have been nice. Oh yeah, it would have been nice to see him defending that place.
I think, to be honest, I think he'd have just let Lewis go straight away. Because it's not, with Max in front of him and Lewis behind him, that's not a fight you want to get involved in a Williams.
Yeah, but in
No
the
way do you
rain,
want to get embroiled in that.
but in the rain,
Everyone
every
behind
car
that,
is almost
fine.
equal, almost.
Everyone behind that, fine, but you don't want to get involved in a championship fight and have an impact in it when you're in a car that's nowhere near. I get the likes of sort of Ferrari and McLaren wanting to get involved and see what they can do and try and finish above Max and Lewis and stuff like that, because they're looking at maximising points for their own fight. But if you're in a Williams or a Haas or something like that, you don't want to get involved in that. Because if you make a mistake and if you damage one of either Max or Lewis, everyone's going to point at you as the guy that ruined the championship. So you don't want to do that. You don't want to get involved in that.
But then you have the question: how the fuck did he get P2 in qualifying?
The Williams decided to go with a full wet setup. So while Max and Lewis sort of had to hedge their bets in case the race was dry, Williams could just go, fuck it, and gamble because they were, nowhere. They don't have to be conservative, so they went with a full wet setup. And where everybody else did a lap, did a cool down, and then did another one, he went out on the. I can't remember if he went out on the full. I think he went out on the full wets, and then was like, "Nah, this isn't inners," and came straight back in after his out lap, and then went back on. Went back out on the inters, so he only had his out lap and then a flyer. So his tyres were warmer and fresher as well. So there was a few sort of. I mean, it was still an incredible lap, but there was a few sort of reasons why it was so fast.
Interesting.
Because I mean, the Williams is what, a second and a half off the pace most weeks.
Probably.
I know the rain mitigates a lot of that, but it doesn't mitigate all of it.
As you were saying that, Uriel went into the pit lane. Maybe he was trying to get rid of that drive-through, but maybe he doesn't know that you cannot do that. Oh, and David Power and Greg almost collide into Bruxelles. I think that's the corner. If I'm looking,
It's now Rivage. They keep changing its name.
so I cannot find a good track map. Is this one correct? Is this one correct? Is this one correct? Is this one correct?
So this is Pouon. Everyone knows Pouon. Pouon is Pouon.
Of course. And the Buster
But
chicane.
I mean, it's much less impressive at 75 miles an hour compared to the like 160 that you normally take it at. Which for a car that is like basically 180, a corner that's basically 180 degrees is nuts.
Of course.
This is Fanius, which is Murder Curb Central.
Isn't that
Fanius and Lecom.
campus?
And then
Okay, I don't have a good track map.
this doesn't have a name for some reason. And then you've got, even though you brake for it, and then this one that is flat out is Stabilo. And that wall comes so close to the track because of a house. Similar to the house on Eau Rouge, which is like the best place to live, although they flattened the one up Eau Rouge to extend the runoff. 5-second penalty for Ryan. Ryan's not having a good race for a severe collision with David Hoy.
It's interesting how David Power and Greg.
That's sneaky.
What happened?
David Hoy's back to the field of. Oh, he got done for ignoring yellow flag. He was already third. How does that work? That seems wrong. So David Hoy got a 5-second penalty for ignoring yellow flags, but he was already third. I thought he was backing the pack up to let David and Greg go and give his teammate, cover.
And
But
we are
He was
underway.
backing him up to try and let someone past.
Maybe.
But Greg's gone, and David's right on him. So he could get a good slipstream here down the Camel Straight. Obviously, now we've had a full safety car, we won't have DRS for another 2 laps. So he's going to have to use battery, slipstream, and car placement if he's going to want to make this move into Lecom. But there's quite a big gap opening now behind the front three. The Ferrari and 2 Alfa Romeos have managed to get away.
Paolo and George are battling.
Another 3 seconds for Robbie. He's now on 12. And we've had a swap up the front from the Alfa Romeos. That's tactical.
That's interesting. And Paolo has overtaken George
tactical.
As well.
David Power's given David Hoy a run at Greg on the fresher tyres, on the softer tyres.
But he does have that penalty,
play.
so that's going to not be good for him.
I think, yeah, the thing is if he doesn't pit again, I think at least some of that is going to get removed. The 5 seconds for ignoring yellow flags, considering he was third at restart and then was in third when he got done for it, seems dumb.
Did you see what racing line Greg was using? Everywhere. Try to keep on board with him, and it's a very weird line.
He's running very right up to the edges of the track.
Yeah,
That's kind of what you have to do at Spa.
Yeah, but there's a lot of grass, so if you make one little mistake, you're done. But David Hoy is quickly catching him on the straight line. He touches the grass a little bit and is really slow, defending the inside line.
Down the outside into the bus stop! If he can hold it round the first chicane, he gets the inside for the second part.
And... oh, they collide!
Greg's gonna fight this, but he gets a snap of oversteer.
That could be front wing damage.
Into the lead. And Ryan gets a 5-second penalty as he speeds in the pit lane to serve his drive-through.
Jesus Christ.
Just
Ryan...
when you day can't get worse.
Ryan seriously does not have luck today.
Lassie's the odd man out here. The front 5 have built up a 3.5 second lead over
David Power spins! I was literally on board with him.
Saved it.
But
Did he fully spin? I thought he just lost it already.
He lost control and hit the wall on the left-hand side. But thankfully, it was not the barriers. I was fully on board with him.
Oh, but he's lost his
end plate.
Left end plate. Yeah. So I mean, he'll have to pit for mediums, but lap 8 on mediums to the end is fine. Like that's not going to be a problem. Then he's going to be pretty quick because everyone else is on their tyres since the. I think that's an unfair 3-second time penalty as well.
What's that?
You got one for corner cutting for running wide through Rivage.
Oh, Lassie spins.
Like, oh.
Lassie and Greg were side by side. He did, but he was side by side with Greg, who was again taking. If you touch the inside
curb at poo on, it will kill you.
Yeah, it is a auto spin curb.
So that promotes George and Robbie. So George is back up to P5. Yeah, had a poor start, but had a good qualifying, so he's obviously got the pace there. And the front 3 are now getting away, which is the 2 Ferrari boys and David Hoy on his medium tyres.
If Ferrari finished like this, they are going to get a lot of points to Aston Martin in the championship. They are currently running second. We have a retirement of Uriel in
That's
campus.
another safety car, and that's an Antonio Giovinazzi. So thankfully Cody didn't get collected by his tyre. Tuka pits. Tuka dives in immediately.
That is a really
This will be
good...
another set of mediums. I don't think he used them in qualifying, so he's got a second fresh set.
I'm surprised that he's going on softs.
Softs? Oh, that's risky.
And Greg is not in the pit lane yet. I think it's better to go on mediums right now, because they can definitely go until the end. Maybe. But he should go into the pit lane for mediums. They can definitely go until the end of the race.
But he's going to lose a lot of positions for pitting.
But
he's got unfortunate there. As David Power, Paolo, and Elliot all pit as well at the back. So they're all going to have brand new tyres at the back as well. But yeah, the top 7 currently haven't pit. In terms of under this safety car. But Tuka's only 3.5 seconds behind Ryan. Because of Ryan's drive-through. And a drive-through for Georgios as well!
Jesus!
You couldn't pick a worst place to have a drive-through, because that pit lane is awful. It's far too tight. I can't believe that over all the years they've never widened that pit lane.
I have a question. What race do you think was the worst this season? Because I think that Belgium exceeds that.
In real life?
In Ero Season 6 PC2.
Oh. Worst races in most boring, or worst races in what the fuck is going on?
What the fuck is going on? Yes.
100% Baku.
Baku was crazy, but I think that this is very
Suzuka.
Close. Suzuka was okay.
Suzuka had 4 safety cars and 2 VSCs, and then after we burnt all the fuel out of the safety car, we had a 3-car pile up through 200R, which would have been a safety car. And another 3-second time penalty for Robbie.
I mean,
I don't think he likes this track.
Bad.
Or he doesn't like staying on it, at least. In 9 laps, he's got 15 seconds of penalty, all for corner going.
Wait, are you serious? 15?
Yeah, and some of those have been under safety car. If you get 30 seconds of penalty in a race, you are disqualified. That is the game that does that, that's not us.
I think that Suzuka was pretty okay, but Baku was carnage. And this is really close to Baku.
The only person that pits here is Georges. So the fact that Greg hasn't pit, I think he thinks there's going to be another safety car.
Or maybe he's just trying to wait until the rain period, which should come at the end of the race. But,
well, it will now.
But that's a risky, a risky move.
With this many safety cars, it could start raining in about 5 minutes. They said it was, what, 45 minutes in? I mean, it's almost a 2-minute lap if you're on a flyer. It's like 150s in the race.
I mean,
Like
are you seeing any clouds in the air?
On the safety car, it's nearly a 3-minute lap.
I think it's more than that.
Oh, Georges spins the safety car. That's going to warm his tyres. Not quite as much. Not quite in the way you want.
I think it's more than 3 minutes under the safety car. If a normal lap time is a minute 43 in qualifying, I think that in the race could be 3 minutes 30 seconds, probably.
1:49 is the current fastest lap in the race, I believe.
We can actually check. Wait a second.
Yeah.
David Hoy.
A 47.7 from Lassie.
2 minutes 59 seconds 8 tenths from David Hoy during the safety car.
It's about a 3-minute lap.
Depends if you're pushing or not. If you're trying to catch up.
2:59.8. It's about a 3-minute lap. I couldn't have been much better than that. I wasn't going to say, well, it's the 2 minutes and 59.8 second lap. About 3 minutes is pretty bang on. Should be in this lap actually.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. So we can stop with the 3-minute lap times.
So you are bang on with the times. I'm bang on with Greg's hard tire strategy.
Yeah.
So we are really speculating on a lot of things.
Yeah.
So,
but no, it could rain like it was due rain in what 45 minutes, which is basically as the race ends. But now with all these safety cars, it could rain with about 6 laps left.
Could be. And you
in
know
which
what
case,
is also
it's such a long track, you really can't gamble on staying out. If you think it's probably too wet, you kind of have to pit.
And you know what is also interesting? Tuka is the only one on softs.
I don't think they'll get to the end.
Of course not.
unless he's just saying they'll get to the rain. But then it depends how heavy the rain is. David's gone.
He already has a second lead. And the Ferraris are battling together. I think Jacob wants to get in front of Greg as soon as possible, as he has more fresher tires.
I think Greg should let Jacob go.
Of course.
He's not going to be able to chase down David, I don't think, whereas Jacob's on exactly the same age of tyres, so I think it probably serves Ferrari, as Jacob has to cut Raddy on.
Oh,
it probably serves Ferrari for Greg to just not fight Jacob.
Lassie and Rob going side by side. Let's see what they do in Lacombe. Rob is kinda in front.
Lassie's fighting back. Rob leaves him space, but he's got the inside to the middle part.
Oh, and Ryan has already
Ryan and Tuka side by side. This could end in tears.
Oh, they collided a little bit.
Contact, about 4 times wheel-to-wheel contact.
Oh,
Ryan goes a lot deeper into reverse, and Tuka's going to try and undercut him. Ryan's going to hold the inside line here through No Name.
And they're still side by side.
Just pushes Tuka off the track.
And
Duke's
he uses Greg's line. Oh, that's the esports line. That's what Greg
side
was
by
using.
side through Puan.
And he
Tuka's
runs
off
him
the track,
wide.
but he's still holding it around the outside.
I think
Those
that's an
soft tyres
illegal
are gonna give
overtake.
Tons of traction through there.
That was probably an
pretty
illegal overtake
backs out
as
and
he
gives
overtakes him around the off track.
I'm not entirely sure he got in front while he was off the track though.
I don't know.
But he's going to be all over Ryan here.
But he is losing a lot of time as he is on softs and Ryan is on mediums.
Yeah.
Georgios gets
he's gonna have
3
another go
seconds.
now down the back straight.
Oh, Ryan is squeezing him. He's squeezing
Ryan's
him off
fighting
track.
it back. He's gonna have the inside through Blanchimon. If Tuka can hold it there.
They are surely going. Oh,
he's
that's
both off the track.
that's Hamilton and Verstappen. And they're still side by side.
The bus stop. Ryan keeps fighting it.
What is this?
And all this time, David's now got a 2-second lead at the front, and Jacob has overtaken Greg.
And Tuka has overtaken
finally
Ryan.
gets past Ryan.
Oh, and Ryan is trying to do a dive bomb.
Bit of a dive.
And they touch a little bit.
Nearly spins.
What was
Oh
that?
my god! What is this?
And my game is lagging a lot. I don't know why.
That's so good. Can we just
And
race
then
Sparrow? Oh, Ryan's gone. Ryan's gone.
Oh,
Completely gone through Ryan.
and Lassie side by side
Is that
run
not safety
the
car?
and
That
Lassie
might
run
be
the
the
outside
safety
of Greg as well.
Greg's fighting it back through through Lake Holm.
But he has a really bad line, and they touch, and
there's
Greg
contact!
spins.
Oh!
And someone
he
behind
has
him.
spun. I thought he'd held that.
I think Rob touches him a little bit as well. As Rob spins as well
Oh,
in
Rob's
Brazil.
cutting some grass on the inside of Ravage. Tuka's now up to P4 after all this chaos.
Jesus.
Oh my god. And David has a 2.5-second lead again. I think this is getting a bit boring for David. He drives off into the distance, I think it's pulled back by his car, and then does it again.
Remind me to never race in Spa.
Oh no, dude, it's so fun. David leads
Seeing
Jacob by
this-
2.5 seconds, and then there's a 2-second gap back to Lassie, who now has Tuka all over behind him.
Seeing today's PC2 race, I don't think I want to race in Spa anymore. And we have a spin of
Yeah,
Rob. He DNFs from the race.
I think Rob's in the house. Is Rob in the house?
A virtual safety car.
Rob's in the house. Rob's in the house. Somehow, okay, this is how much he hit the house. Rob currently has no wheels on the left-hand side of his car. The front and the rear are off.
Poor house.
That's why it has barriers. Oh my god, George Pitts from Mercedes goes onto a new set of mediums. Here you could probably get softs to the end, but it depends if you've got any freshness from quality. And Greg's last and still running around on those hard tyres. I think I might have pit there. I don't think you really lose too much for pitting if you're already last.
Greg
Put
is
some
not
softs
in the
on
pit
and
lane.
bomb it.
Again.
But he's jumped George over the while he's being in the pits.
But
As VST ends, and that's a drive-through for
drive-through
Jacob.
penalty. But
How
that's
many
a...
drive and a drive-through for George as well? How many drive-throughs?
Oh, we have a spin.
6.
We have a spin of David Power and Lecom. Interesting. But yeah, as I was saying, Greg, I don't think that's really smart because I think better tires would be better. He should have pitted under the safety car,
Yeah,
not
absolutely.
the VSC. But I don't know what he's doing. But Lassie and Tuka are
Like
having a
you
really good
say, I
battle.
think he just wants to hold them out till it rains, because then everybody's going to have to pit.
But
And he was basically just going for track position. Because George just spins again, he's now lost his front wing. Bad day for Mercedes.
the only problem
Worst
I'm
day
seeing,
for McLaren, but bad day for Mercedes.
the only problem I'm seeing is no clouds in the air. So Greg's strategy is probably not gonna work.
Not yet. So, David leads by 1.7 from Jacob. Jacob's made up some space, but he did that by speeding under VSC. So, technically David leads by 3.7 from Tuka, who's got past Lassie.
And
On
Jacob
the run through Blanchimon.
is serving his drive-through.
Yes. So this is going to drop in pretty much to the back. As Cody gets past him now for P4. And Paolo and Elliot come through as well on their run down into Los Os. And David as well.
Oh, Georgios
And
retires.
George retires on track. So I don't know if he's binned that or if he's rage quit. I'm gonna guess binned it. But we've got a fight here between David and Jacob going up Eau Rouge. Jacob right up behind David. That's going to give him dirty air, but he manages to hold the car, and that's going to give him a big run down the Kemmel Straight. Here he comes, doing his best Sebastian Vettel impression.
And he overtakes him very easily.
Easy move down into Lecom. Gets back on the racing line and manages to hold through that corner.
Oh, and David
So
runs really
2.7
wide.
seconds now the gap between David and Tuka at the front. But I'm not sure how long those softs of Tukas are going to go. And if they do get to the end, they're going to be very slow by the end. They'll be very worn. He's going to have to really nurse them. So we have seen Tuka do that.
Yeah, as you were saying, he is really pushing, so he's not trying to conserve them at all. He did gain 7/10 in campus right now. A purple sector 2, 1 second and 4/10 faster. And gain 4 more tenths. So he's gaining around a second and a half per lap, or maybe even 2 seconds, as David Power gets 3-second time penalty.
And hits a wall. And that's damage to his front wing, and yellow flags in sector 3.
What is happening today? David Hoy fastest
David
lap,
Hoy
but
with the new
two
fastest
car
lap, and Tuka smashes it.
faster
by
by
2
2 and
seconds.
2 seconds and 2 tenths. Jesus.
Tuka's going to be all over David at the end of this lap. But the question then comes down to how long will his softs last? So we've had, it was contact and things with Ryan under safety car. That is why David has these 10 seconds of penalties. And Ryan says that none of them should be penalties. Whether saying they're his own fault or they're just game bugs, I'm not sure. But they shouldn't be penalties for David. So where he finishes should be where he finishes, unless he gets, penalties for other reasons. So he's not looking to try and build a 10-second gap over someone.
David Power has
how well he manages to hold off Tuka, I'm not sure. I think with a 1.3 second gap, I'm pretty sure Tuka's going to be all over him by the end of sector 2.
And
Those
he's
soft tires
not...
are just going to give him so much grip.
Of course. And he didn't gain a lot of time in sector 1 and the beginning of sector 2. But David Hoy is losing a lot of time in Puan and campus as well. Paolo gets 3-second time penalty again for multiple warnings. What is happening this race? 18 people are watching
side,
all of this carnage involved.
Finish his points. I mean, finish his points already. There's 7 laps left. It hasn't even rained yet. Finish his points. But on the bright side, we don't have Robbie invalidating track limits and possibly getting disqualified to add to matters. But yeah, Tuka now just 2 tenths behind David. 3 tenths. So he's going to be looking to make a move probably down the Camel Straight. The DRS zone down into Los Ost really isn't long enough to really make a move.
Maybe we can even see them go side by side in a Rouge, which is not gonna end well. Oh, and it might be, if Tuka wants to try it out.
I'd back out of that.
Same here, same here.
Side by side by Rouge!
Oh, David Hoy gets a very bad line, but Tuka went really slowly.
Yeah, but Tuka got a bit squirrely as well with the but I think he's probably going to have him here on DRS.
David Hoy defends the
moves
inside line.
Defensive, but he's not spending much of his battery. Is he going to fight this? No, he takes a smart decision and just backs out. Oh, he's going to hope to stick with Tuka, and then maybe come back at him when his softs die off. He does still have a 3.3 second lead over Lassie.
But he does have a penalty.
But Brian says that there was a small tap between himself and David under safety car, which was one of the 5-second penalties, but Ryan's taking responsibility for that. And then the game, for some reason, said that he should let Brian by, which made no sense, as David was already P3. So then that's a game-related bullshit 5-second penalty. So
I guess we'll have to wait and see if they report that and see what the stewards are going to decide.
I mean, I would imagine so, because it's really going to harm his finishing position. He's currently on for B2. Lassie's not really closing on him. They have the same age of tyres. And then there's a fairly sizable gap back to Cody and Elliot, who are side-by-side through Stavolo. And Elliot makes the move.
Oh,
Cody gets a bit squirrely.
Very
Keeps
close.
it pointing in the right direction, but he's going to lose a lot of time here on the run down the back straight and through Blanchemont.
And just behind them, Paolo and Jacob are also battling for P6, but Jacob is not wanting to get ahead of him just yet.
You can't really do too much down the back straight unless you're going to dump your battery. He probably wants to keep it. I think he's going to look to make that move down the Camel Straight.
I mean, you would have a really good line in bus stop.
Yeah, I mean, if you can get alongside, but you kind of have to dump your battery to do that. Or just get a significantly better drive through Stabilo.
They have quite equal battery.
Just to follow someone up over Rouge, get the DRS, and just pass them on the way down into Lecom. As Greg finally pits, off his hard. So he's going to put softs on. He's going to be rapid on these softs.
And there are actually some clouds in the air, if you see from Jacobs' POV. As he's trying to overtake Paolo around the inside, Paolo is not defending, and that is a pretty easy overtake for Jacob. Let's hope that he does not touch any curbs too much, do not spin. And he takes it
the
pretty
inside
well.
curbs on the second and third parts of Lacombe aren't too bad. The inside curb on the first part just kills you.
But if you have a wrong setup, the second part of Lacombe is still way too dangerous.
The danger's fun! Welcome to this part.
Well, we had a lot of danger today.
Yeah. According to some guys, it was dangerous drivers. I think it's just a dangerous track in terms of there's so many places you can kind of overtake, but only one place you can definitely overtake. So everyone goes, you can kind of overtake it, I'm going to throw it in. And that's when you end up with chaos.
It could be the drivers, but seeing every last race, these past 11 races,
I think
it
it's
went
more
pretty
on the
well.
track.
Yeah, it's a really bad track on.
It's a track
on
that just makes
this game.
it's a track that makes you want to try and overtake. And I think David's actually hauling Tuka in now again. Tuka's softs sort of start to fall off that cliff at 8 laps old.
And
Now
we were
David's
kinda
12 lap
expecting
old
that.
mediums are starting to look even better. Tuka was 1.7 ahead at the end of sector 2, and it's now 1.4. So David's still got a chance to win this race. Tuka's going to have to hold these tyres out, hope for the rain, or try and get them to the end.
Lasse gets a penalty. I didn't even see that.
Yeah, 3-second run. And Elliot
Elliot
follows
as
suit
well.
by
Oh, Elliot
going
retires.
sideways, and that's a DNF at Radion. He's missing his rear right tyre.
And
Can't drive with 3.
that is not a safety car, which is to
He's
be
a long way off
expected.
the track, so and they are unreduced, so yeah. And we've had like 3.
But isn't maximum 4? I think.
Yes.
Oh,
3
David
second
gets
time
a
penalty for
penalty.
David. That one's not getting removed.
That's not gonna.
So now he needs to finish ahead of Tuka. He needs to stay out of. Oh no, Lassie also has 3 seconds, so he doesn't need to stay out of Lassie. He's racing Lassie on track, but he needs to catch up to Tuka. Tuka's pulled away again though in sector 2. Pulled another second out here.
I mean, that's
Maybe he's just running a lot more downforce, and so he's losing times in sectors 1 and 3, but gaining a load in sector 2.
and that is
Which
actually
might explain why his quality wasn't great.
yeah. Actually, could be. You are right. Yeah.
Unless he was going to set up a tow maybe with his teammate George,
But he retired.
which is very powerful here. But I think George was too focused up on his own line. They have now at the front 2 seconds. Lassie a further 3 seconds back in third, and then those 3, unless there's a serious issue or serious weather, are basically set for the podium as Cody's running around in fourth, 8.5 seconds behind. But he's got Jacob bearing down on him and Paolo, so they both have 3-second time penalties. And
It
both
would
got
be-
very squirrely out of the bus stop.
The clouds look to be moving
Oh.
away. Cody
And
spins.
speaking of Cody, he spun it, tried to go in the pit lane the wrong way, and lost his front wing. And he's now going to limp the whole way around the lap with no front wing.
That is
Just
not gonna be
keep it on
comfortable.
the track, Cody. If you finish, you get points, man. Don't go nuts and push it too hard.
He can still finish, I think, P7 or maybe P8.
Well, he's gonna lose all of this time this lap. I think
I
David and
know.
Greg are gonna get him this lap. So
And
he'll
Greg is
be
on fresh
P8,
softs as well.
and then he's gonna pit. It'll be P8, but I mean the guys in front of him are on pretty fresh softs as well, so he's not gonna have that tire advantage over them, really, more than a couple of laps. But he's also got the time in the pit stop to add on to that. So I think he's looking at P8 unless somebody else makes an error. But hey, it's still points. Still 4 points. And he could get the fastest lap because he'll have the newest tyres, so that could be 5 points.
Luke Mills
So
was
you can
actually
still
really
stretch
close with 6 finishers.
Tuka's still stretching his lead. He's on 3.5 seconds now, pretty much. And Lassie's closing up to David very slightly. He's getting a couple of tenths this lap, but he's not going to have enough race to catch him. David really needs Tuka's tyres to fall off a cliff now. He's still doing low 147s, which is pretty good.
And Lassie is also getting a bit of time to David Hoy.
Yeah, but it's not going to be enough to catch him by the end of the race. He's only taking sort of 2-3 tenths of a lap out of him. So I think David might be chilling it slightly, knowing that you can't catch Tuka unless Tuka's tyres fall off like a life.
I think it's just better to try and survive for the rest of the race.
Survive Spa.
And that's it.
That is the video. Survive Spa.
How to not survive Spa.
Racing PC2. But this race has been nuts. It's sort of settled down a bit now, probably because there's significantly less cars on track to crash into each other. The first few laps were nuts.
They were just crazy.
The closest fight on track right now is Paolo is just 2 seconds behind Jacob, but I think Jacob's actually pulling away slightly. So this, bearing, something nuts, it might be our finishing positions. But it is Spa, so something nuts happening is not out of the question.
Something is definitely gonna happen.
I am very impressed though that Tuka's managing to keep his pace up with these tyres, even though they're 10 laps old.
I mean, the prediction and the directory where you set up your strategy is always wrong. You can always extend your tires around 4 or 5 laps longer than it says in the MFD. So
I mean, maybe not that many at Spa because they are such long laps.
Yeah. So at Spa,
and Sector
probably
2
around
is
2.
like constant punishment. They get a lot of time to cool in sectors 1 and 3, but Sector 2 is constant punishment for the tyres.
Cody pushing a bit too much, trying to get that fastest lap. 3-second time penalty for him. But yeah, this is probably gonna be our finishing grid. We don't even have rain on the horizon, but maybe on the final lap.
Which seems really weird.
Maybe on the final lap, it can come and then we have some crashes in front.
Yeah, all the stewards are just gonna get buckets and start throwing them at the cars. One of them accidentally lets go and throws the whole bucket, takes the front wing off. Then we have more chaos!
And then Tuka dies, and David Hoy wins.
Oh.
That would be not good.
But, I mean, looking at how they qualified, I don't think I was predicting it. They've qualified second, with P1 into La Source on lap 1. Led basically the whole race. Tuka made a ballsy move to put softs on halfway through the race. It does look very gloomy now, actually. Tuka made a ballsy move to put softs on halfway through the race and has managed to make them last, as long as they get around the final lap without exploding. And it's giving him the win when he was basically nowhere in qualifying until that final lap where he actually put a good lap in.
We are coming across the final lap right now, as Tuka is starting it, and I don't really want to talk about today's race. It was just carnage all around.
The first, 3 laps were bonkers. It was just nuts. It was just anything that could happen did. Twice.
3 times. It's just crazy. And maybe someone will crash into Radlon right now to make it even more retirements.
I mean, now you've said that, Jacob is coming up over Rouge right now. So,
Jacob takes it safely, Paolo takes it safely. There is rain, so David Power and Greg might crash into... Yeah, I see droplets.
Oh yeah! I see
So
drops on Greg's screen.
So maybe David, Greg and Cody will crash into Radlon.
Oh boy!
Unfortunately with
I
David...
don't think it's that way. Oh yeah, there's rain on the camera now. So it's arrived. It's a bit late, but it's arrived. But now David negotiates. Greg negotiates riding on as well.
And Cody
He's
is
just
going to be
coming
the
out of
final.
sauce.
I think Tuka is losing a lot of time. Oh, he is. He's losing a lot of time. But he's gaining it back. Yeah, he's gaining it back. And he does not even have penalties. So that's nice. But
No,
yeah,
just Tuka being Tuka.
rain came a bit
He
too
rarely
late.
gets penalties. And at least he remembered his setup this time when we relobbied.
What about last time? I wasn't there, actually.
Tuka did an alternate strategy and basically led Light Step Lag. He qualified P2 on mediums.
And he wins the race. Oh yeah, I actually know that.
David's second. He's going to get relegated by penalties behind Lassie, but they will probably get removed.
What are the...
Lassie P3.
Jacob actually gets most positions.
Yeah, Jacob gets P4 for Ferrari, with Paolo P5 in the Williams. David Hoy's teammate David was going to bring home for a good day for Alfa Romeo, but it could have been better. They were second and third at one point. And he will take P6, as Greg just negotiates the bus stop to take P7 after leading on safety car. But he waited too long for the rain, I think. And it just never arrived until this final lap. But look how wet the track is. It's only been raining since basically the start of the final lap. It's
only 2 minutes.
Pretty wet.
Oh, Cody is doing some donuts.
Cody!
And there we go. That's the end. Finally, finally.
Now we can get rid of all these broken cars that are scattered around.
This race was ultimate carnage. If you like seeing that, then this was really entertaining for you, and for me as well. But here he is, Tuka, winning another race and lifting that trophy. Very, very happy. And Lassie and Hoy follow him in P2 and P3. I think that today Tuka, I think he had a bit of luck. He was kind of unlucky in the before the safety car came, but after the second safety car, I think he put on that soft compound and just ran away. Like, that was
pretty
insane.
Much.
But yeah, this was the Belgian Grand Prix. Tuka won the race by 10 seconds. Lassie and David Hoy finished the podium positions. Jacob follows him right behind in P4. Paulo is P5. David in the Alfa Romeo is P6. Greg P7. Cody P8. Elliot P9. And George gets the final points winning position of 1 point, which is still okay.
Elliot and George didn't do 9% of the race. They didn't get shit.
Never mind!
That's why I said finish and you get points.
Rob is P11, Ryan P12, Uriel, George, Pavel, Jagos, and Daryl P17. I managed to do them in time, thankfully.
I'll count that as a victory.
65% for David Hoy. So that was not gonna be nice in the rain if it would have come a bit earlier.
Yeah. They'd have been difficult to keep hold of for his tires.
Very, very difficult. But yeah, this was PC2. It was ultimate carnage. Let's hope that we don't have that next time. And do you have any last words to say?
Make sure you watch Spa PC1 tomorrow, because it will probably be worse. Because PC1 tends to be worse.
Probably will be. Maybe we will have 5 finishers, not 8.
I might get points.
We would like to thank our partners, Race Inside, Gridfinder, and Bobolidomania, and we also want to thank our partner Discord for partnering. I think that's how you say it. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll do. Near enough.
And yeah, if you don't have anything else to say, we can run this off right here.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay then.
I think it spoke for itself.
But yeah, anyway, this was PC2 today in Belgium. We will see you next time, Saturday at the same time, 5 PM USD, I think it is, or 4 PM UK time. And we will race in Mexico, I think. Yes, Mexico. A pretty okay track, but I guess we'll have to see if the drivers will say so too. So,
I like Mexico. Mexico's pretty good.
It is. I like it. If you have enjoyed, subscribe to the Ero channel. You can also join in the description if you want to race with us. But if you saw today's carnage, I don't think you want to race. I don't think you want to race. But yeah, leave a like if you've enjoyed, and we will see you next Saturday. Have a good night or have a good day, and stay safe out there.
Bye guys.